Before the world reaches for you, before voices, demands, and expectations pull at your attention, there is a brief moment that decides everything. It is quiet, almost fragile, and most people waste it without realizing its value. The eyes open, the breath returns, and the mind stands exposed. In that instant, whatever takes hold first will guide the rest of the day. If you do not seize that moment, something else will. Comfort will speak, fear will whisper, habit will take the reins. And once that happens, you are no longer moving by choice, you are being carried. I learned that waking up is not enough. Awareness without command is weakness. The mind, when left alone, does not naturally move toward strength. It drifts toward ease, memory, and avoidance. It replays the past or imagines difficulty ahead. This is how most people begin their days, already divided, already tired, already behind. They believe the world exhausts them, but in truth, they surrender before the first step. The moment you wake is the only time the mind has not yet been claimed by the outside. No victory or loss has yet occurred. No judgment has been passed. In this moment you are free, but freedom without discipline vanishes instantly. If you do not issue direction, the mind will seek one on its own and it will not choose wisely. The first thought is dangerous because it feels natural. It arrives without effort, so people trust it. If it says, rest a little longer, they obey. If it says, this day will be difficult, they accept it as truth. They do not realize that this first thought is untrained, shaped by habit and fear rather than intention. To follow it is to hand over authority before the battle has even begun. Command must come immediately and without negotiation. Not a speech, not a debate, a decision. Rise, focus, move. These are not words meant to inspire emotion. They are orders meant to establish control. When you issue them daily, the mind begins to recognize your authority. It learns that hesitation will not be entertained. At first, the mind resists. It will question your discipline. It will remind you of fatigue, discomfort, and unfinished rest. It will suggest delay with convincing logic. This resistance is not a sign that you are failing. It is proof that you have touched the point where strength is forged. Each time you act despite resistance, you weaken its voice. Each time you obey resistance, you strengthen it. Fear often disguises itself as practicality in the early hours. It claims to be protecting you from effort, from disappointment, from strain. But protection that prevents movement is not protection. It is a cage. When you seize the mind at waking, fear has no time to build its stories. It cannot paint detailed images of struggle if you are already in motion. This is why those who understand this rule appear calm under pressure. They are not calm by nature. They are calm by habit. They have practiced command when it was quiet so they can maintain command when it is loud. The chaos of the world does not surprise them because they have already faced disorder within themselves. Seizing the mind does not mean forcing aggression. It means clarity. You do not wake in anger or urgency. You wake in purpose. Purpose is steady. It does not rush and it does not delay. It moves because movement has been decided. Over time, this practice reshapes your inner landscape. The first thought begins to change. Instead of doubt, there is readiness. Instead of resistance, there is direction. The mind learns what is expected of it. It stops testing boundaries that no longer exist. Many believe discipline restricts them. In truth, it frees them. When the mind is seized early, the rest of the day unfolds with less friction. Decisions are easier because direction is already set. Distractions lose power because focus has already been claimed. You are not constantly pulling yourself back on course because you never drifted far to begin with. This is why so few understand this mindset. It offers no visible reward in the beginning. No one sees you claim your mind in silence. No one applauds the moment you choose movement over comfort, but this invisible victory compounds. It shows itself later in endurance, in composure, in the ability to act while others hesitate. Loss feels different when you begin the day in command. You do not collapse inward, you assess and adjust. Victory feels different as well. It does not intoxicate you. You remain grounded because your confidence does not come from outcome but from control. The world will always try to claim your attention first. It will always be loud, urgent, and demanding. If you allow it to shape your first thought, you spend the rest of the day reacting. If you seize the mind before the world touches it, you move through the day with intention rather than defense. This is not about waking early or following rituals for their own sake. It is about authority, who leads when consciousness returns. If it is habit, fear, or comfort, the result is always the same. If it is you, the path changes. Most people lose before they begin because they never claim this moment. They drift into the day and wonder why they feel behind, pressured, and weak. The few who understand do not wonder, they decide. Take the mind first, and nothing else will take you by surprise. Strength is not first built in the body. Many believe that moving, lifting, running, or striking is what makes a person powerful. They admire the sweat, the bruises, the physical proof of effort, yet the body, no matter how trained, cannot endure if the mind is weak. A strong body without a disciplined mind is a fragile weapon. It panics when pressure rises. It hesitates when timing is critical. It collapses when the unexpected appears. Real mastery begins in the mind, for the mind decides whether the body moves forward or retreats. The untrained mind is easily swayed. It listens to excuses, justifications, and fear disguised as prudence. You are too tired. It is too difficult. You are not ready. These thoughts feel logical because they are habitual. They are the default path chosen by those who have not claimed authority over their own inner world. The body may want to act, but the mind holds the reins. When it falters, the body follows into weakness. Training the mind begins with recognition. You must see the habits that dictate your actions. Where do you hesitate? Where do you seek comfort instead of effort? Where do you allow fear to speak first and loudly? Awareness alone is the first weapon. When you understand the patterns, you can begin to change them. This change does not come through force, it comes through repeated choice. Discipline is not reaction, it is preparation. When the mind is trained, the body obeys without confusion or hesitation. This obedience is not submission, it is harmony. The mind sets direction, the body follows with efficiency. This is the difference between movement that achieves and movement that wastes energy. Every motion becomes purposeful, every effort becomes deliberate. Fear is the test of mental strength. A strong body may charge forward once, driven by adrenaline, but it will falter under repeated pressure unless the mind is steady. Fear feeds on uncertainty and hesitation. A disciplined mind sees fear for what it is, information, not command. It observes, assesses, and then continues. The body follows this clarity, moving with confidence rather than being dragged by panic. Silence is essential in mental training. When the world is quiet, you can hear the thoughts that usually go unnoticed. You will notice hesitation, distraction, and the pull of comfort. At first, this exposure is uncomfortable. Most turn away because silence reveals weakness. But the path of mastery does not allow hiding. Exposure is the beginning of control. Through silence, attention is trained. The mind learns to direct itself rather than be pulled in every direction. You practice focus, returning again and again to a chosen point of effort. This builds a habit of concentration that will carry into all areas of life. A scattered mind produces scattered action. A focused mind produces power that seems effortless but is honed through invisible effort. Patience is another lesson of mental mastery. Results do not appear immediately. Training without visible reward is often the hardest. Many give up because the effort feels invisible or the world does not recognize it. Yet patience strengthens the mind more than recognition ever could. Each small choice, repeated consistently, compounds into unshakable discipline. When the mind is strong, physical training becomes more effective. Effort is no longer reactive. It is steady, deliberate, and strategic. You train even when progress is slow. You push when it is necessary and respect recovery when it is required. The body begins to mirror the control of the mind. Strength becomes sustainable rather than explosive. Fatigue is endured rather than feared. Pressure exposes the difference between mental and physical strength. When exhaustion arrives, the mind dictates the pace. When pain threatens to overwhelm, the mind adjusts strategy rather than abandoning it. This endurance is often mistaken for stoicism or lack of emotion. In truth, emotion is present, but it no longer dominates decision. Clarity guides action. Those who do not train the mind first often fail physically before the test even begins. They blame their bodies for weakness, but the fault lies in preparation. The body is loyal to the mind. If it has been led well, it will endure. If it has been neglected, it will collapse. Discipline is contagious. Mental discipline infects physical performance with consistency and purpose. The practice of training the mind before the body extends beyond movement and exercise. It shapes reactions, decisions, and resilience in life. The mind that has been disciplined for focus, patience, and clarity will navigate chaos calmly. Loss does not shatter it. Failure does not paralyze it. Fear is observed and neutralized rather than obeyed. The body moves efficiently because the mind has already decided the direction. A trained mind also sharpens strategy. You stop rushing into action out of impulse. You know when to advance and when to wait. Impatience fades because the mind sees the value of timing and preparation. Physical movement is not wasted on reaction, it is applied with precision and intent. Even when the body weakens, the mind adapts. Injury, fatigue, or limitation becomes an opportunity to refine focus, strategy, and perception. True power is not measured by strength alone but by the ability to persist despite challenge. Mental mastery ensures that persistence continues when the body falters. Every day presents an opportunity to train the mind. Every choice, distraction resisted, discomfort endured, or patience practiced is an extension of this work. Strength grows quietly in repetition. It does not require recognition, applause, or external reward. It accumulates invisibly until it becomes undeniable in moments of real demand. When the mind is prepared first, the body becomes a natural instrument. Actions are efficient, decisive, and unshakable. Fear is diminished because clarity precedes effort. Momentum builds because hesitation is removed. The body serves without question, responding to commands issued from a disciplined, aware, and trained mind. Therefore, always remember, no matter how strong the body becomes, it is fragile without a trained mind. Strength begins where awareness and control take root. Before physical action, before movement, before exertion, command the mind first and the body will follow unerringly. The moment you understand that the mind leads the body, another truth becomes unavoidable. Every outcome in your life is yours to own. Nothing occurs by accident. Nothing is ever completely out of your influence. Many avoid this understanding because it carries weight, because it forces honesty, and because it removes the comforting habit of blame. Yet those who avoid it always lose. Those who embrace it gain an inner authority that cannot be taken by circumstance or by fear. People often explain their failures before they examine their choices. They say, if only circumstances were different, or I could have won if others had acted correctly. This is the language of weakness. It hides the real source of power, ownership. When you accept that every decision, every hesitation, every action, and even every inaction belongs to you, you reclaim control. Ownership does not depend on fairness or luck. It does not rely on approval or the errors of others. It relies on you. To accept responsibility is not to condemn yourself. It is not to punish or lament. Responsibility is clarity. It is the lens through which you see all events as opportunities to act, to adjust, and to refine. When you stop blaming external factors, the path forward becomes visible. You see where you were hesitant, where your focus wavered, where effort was insufficient. You see the truth because you are no longer hiding behind excuses. Excuses are the refuge of the weak. They comfort, they justify, and they delay action. But they are illusions. The person who seeks excuses believes that power lies elsewhere, that circumstance controls their outcome. The moment you remove excuses, you place power where it belongs, inside yourself. This is the foundation of victory because no one else can wield your decisions or bear your burdens. Responsibility transforms fear. Fear thrives when you believe events control you. It whispers, you are at the mercy of what happens, and the mind obeys. When you accept ownership, fear loses its dominion. You may still experience uncertainty, but it no longer dominates your action. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong, you ask, what will I do if it does? One question immobilizes, the other moves. The difference is mastery. This practice is not easy. At first it feels heavy, almost cruel. You recognize the full weight of your choices, the mistakes you cannot blame on others, the moments of hesitation that cost you dearly. This honesty is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Growth cannot exist in denial. Strength cannot be forged in avoidance. Responsibility demands confrontation with self. Silence is the first tool for this confrontation. In quiet, without distraction, you see patterns you would otherwise miss. You notice how often hesitation precedes inaction, how often comfort guides your hand, how often emotion overrules judgment. Observation alone does not strengthen you, but it begins the process. Once patterns are recognized, the work of refinement can begin. The disciplined mind sees loss differently. Loss is not a catastrophe to grieve endlessly. It is information, it is instruction. When you own every aspect of your response, every setback becomes a lesson. You extract what is useful, discard what is irrelevant, and apply it without hesitation. The person who blames others repeats mistakes. The person who accepts responsibility evolves. Ownership also frees you from the manipulation of others. When you are accountable only to yourself, praise and criticism lose their ability to control you. The world may reward or punish, but it cannot dictate your preparation, your focus, or your response. You act according to the reality you face, not the narrative you wish existed. This clarity is a kind of freedom few ever achieve. Responsibility deepens discipline. You no longer need external pressure to move. Motivation is fleeting, but ownership is constant. You understand that if action is required, it is always yours to deliver. The consequences belong to you, and so does the power to prevent them. This knowledge creates quiet urgency, a relentless drive that does not need encouragement. Fear, when confronted with this mindset, becomes manageable. It still appears, but it is studied rather than obeyed. It is a signal, not a commander. When you accept full responsibility, fear cannot dictate your behavior because your attention is always on action and adjustment, not complaint and avoidance. What once paralyzed you becomes a tool to sharpen judgment. Accepting responsibility also changes how you see others. You stop expecting them to act as you wish. You stop being frustrated by their failures, their mistakes, or their limitations. You learn to meet people as they are, not as you imagine they should be. This reduces distraction, conserves energy, and allows you to focus on what is truly within your control, your own movement, your own choices. Life is full of unpredictability. Plans fail, people disappoint, opportunities vanish. But a mind trained in responsibility adapts without collapse. You assess, you adjust, and you continue. You may not control the world, but you control your response. That is always enough. The rest is irrelevant to the person who has accepted ownership. Daily practice is essential. Responsibility is not a single declaration made once. It is repeated in each decision, each effort, each interaction. Every time you choose ownership over explanation, you strengthen the part of yourself that does not surrender under pressure. Every day becomes a test, and every test reinforces your capacity to endure, to adjust, and to prevail. The people who consistently lose are those who have not made this practice a habit. They drift, they react, they argue, and they complain. They believe the world is unfair, that events are to blame, that others robbed them of victory, but in truth, they are powerless because they have ceded power. They never realize that strength does not arrive from outside, it is claimed within. Those who embrace responsibility gain resilience. Failure does not diminish them, it instructs them. Pressure does not overwhelm them, it sharpens them. Fear does not dominate them, it informs them. And in this they become unstoppable, not because life has been made easier, but because they have accepted their role as the shaper of their own path. Power always resides where ownership is taken. Stand firm, accept all that belongs to you, and nothing outside can ever defeat you.